What's going on YouTube? So while many automakers abandoned and are now re-entering this mid-size two-row segment, Nissan has been offering the popular Murano continuously for years. Now we have the latest 2020 version with a few important updates, in addition to the huge ones it received just last year. Of course, we do want to take a moment to specially thank our friends at Gates Nissan in Richmond, Kentucky for giving us access to this Murano. And of course, if you're in the market for any new Nissan, make sure you stop by their dealership or visit them via their website, which we provided a link to in the video description. So with that all said, let's see if Murano is still one of the top products in the class. So kicking things off here on the outside, the totally new fascia that debuted last year is still on board. Every single trim has this design, with a large chrome V and then a black area that surrounds it for a cool contrast look. The headlights were also updated last year so that they are fully LED across every single trim, including the very distinctive triangle-shaped daytime running lights. And then at the bottom, SL and Platinum will also have LED fog lights. As far as the rest of the design, it continues to have a unique and futuristic look, especially with the floating roof and the boomerang-shaped LED taillights. Finally, along the lower part, there is a chrome accent and dual exhaust outlets on all models. So overall, this Murano's design has really aged well, since it still looks modern and futuristic, even though this generation has been around for 5 years at this point. Now turning our attention to the wheels, there are a few different options. On this top-end Platinum, we have the 20-inch dark finished alloys. And then when you move down to the SL, it also nets you 20 inches, but with a different design. Finally, your lower two trims will come with 18-inch alloys. Checking out the mirrors, they are always body colored, power adjusting, and newly heated on the SV and up for 2020. Blind spot monitoring continues to be standard on all but the base model. And as far as all your other safety systems, Nissan has expanded the availability of them for 2020. The full suite of systems was previously on the Platinum only, but now the SV and up will come with front and rear emergency braking, lane keeping assist, auto high beam headlights, and adaptive cruise control. But anyways guys, that's it for the updates to the bold exterior. So now let's go ahead and check out the cabin. Every single trim will come standard with their smart entry system. However, you will have to go up to at least the SV to get this remote start system. And then like every Nissan product, there's not a sensor behind the handle, so you just press the button to unlock. Alright, so taking a look inside the cabin here, you won't notice a great deal of changes since this is just 1 year removed from the full refresh it got. But there are a couple little detail changes that I will point out as we go along. Now this car does continue to have a wide variety of material and color combinations. So for your S and SV trim, those are going to come with cloth seating. Then when you go up to your SL trim, that's where you'll get leather. Now, added last year is that this Platinum trim comes with this beautiful quilted semi-inland leather. That's definitely very nice to be offered in this class, since this is the finest grade of leather available in the industry right now. As far as colors, there's going to be 3 offered depending on which trim. That's going to be cashmere, graphite, or mocha. Now turning over here to your door trim, it is beautifully finished, but especially so here on the Platinum. We have leather all through here. We have this little silver piping that goes through here. You will also notice on the Platinum we have the wood trims that are only on the Platinum. There's a couple different ones. This is the dark one, It's not actually real wood, but it looks very realistic. On SL and up, you have 2-person memory seating, and then your front 2 windows are one-touch auto up and down. As far as your seats, this is the 8-way power adjusting seat with 2-way lumbar support. It comes on all but the very base S model. And then returning back here to the seat, like I said, this is semi-aniline leather. One of the nicest grades offered on any vehicle. It definitely feels very supple, and I like the quilted design. So like I said, it was just refreshed last year, so there's not going to be any updates to the general design as well as the materials. So across your gauge cluster here, you will have a leatherette with color contrast stitching, and then the rest of your upper dash is hard touch plastic. Below that, you've got some more of the wood trim here on the Platinum. All through this area, this is all nicely padded plastic. And then dropping down here to the center console area, this is all covered in leather, again with the color contrast stitching and piping, and then some more of this nice looking faux wood trim. Now standard on every Murano, you do have push button start. Now looking at your gauges here, this is the version that Nissan includes on every single trim. You've got the large 7-inch multi-function display right there in the middle, and this gives you access to all your typical information, including your different driving aids right there. Now coming back to the steering wheel, this is where one of our 2020 changes has occurred, and that's that the Platinum trim only now comes with smooth leather. I'm not telling a huge difference here. I guess it is a little bit smoother just to kind of in an attempt to, you know, match with the smoothness maybe of the semi-aniline leather that comes on the Platinum. But regardless, on most of the other trims, you will still have leather wrapping as well. Now, the steering wheel is power adjusting on this Platinum only. However, you will have steering wheel heating if you go for either the SL or the Platinum. Now, moving on to interior storage, you do have quite a bit of it. So opening this up, this is actually a very deep and large center console here. You do have a felt lining down at the bottom. You also have like a little tray to stick your phone and a 12-volt outlet inside of here. Up in front of that, you've got your 2 cup holders and then another nice storage area right there in front of the regular USB, USB Type-C, and a second 12-volt outlet. Now as far as the shifter here, this is just your regular Nissan shifter. Pull back for drive, you can bump over here to the left to shift manually through some simulated gear changes. However, there will not be paddle shifters on any Murano. Now when we go into reverse here, you're going to notice the 360-degree around view monitor. This is standard on the SL and the Platinum, so obviously you have both your regular view here with active trajectory, you also have your 360 view, and you have the moving object detection as well. Additionally, on both sides, the mirrors will tilt down when in reverse to help you see the parking lines better. And then your other trims will come standard with a regular backup camera. Now the only other buttons here on the center console will be for your seat controls. So standard on the SL and the Platinum will be 3-stage heated seats, and this is optional on the SV as well. However, only the Platinum will come with the 3-stage seat ventilation. And then in regards to the rest of your climate controls, this is the dual zone automatic setup. It comes standard on every single trim. As you can see, you have physical controls, so you just adjust the temperature with these big knobs, and then you've got your fan speed and zones right through here. Alright, so now that brings us up here to our audio systems. So Nissan basically splits it between lower and upper trims, so your upper trims have the 11-speaker Bose premium sound system. So we'll go ahead and take a sample of that. So overall sound quality of this system is definitely top notch. Alright, so this is your NissanConnect system coming through the standard 8-inch display. I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time with this because this is just the standard NissanConnect system. It is very much the same as in previous years, but I will point out a couple of the main features here. So when we hit our menu, we have our home screen with some shortcuts down at the bottom. We can populate our own widgets in there like that. Nissan does nicely include both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay standard on all of the trims. And then if you go for either the SL or the Platinum, that's where you'll get this integrated navigation system. And this is also the newest version, so it has had the latest Nissan graphics. So those are the main features I want to point out. Of course, we do have a dedicated tech out video available for those of you who want to take a deeper dive. A link to that video is provided in the description. Now coming on up here, we do have an auto dimming mirror with our 3 HomeLink universal remotes. This is standard on all but the S trim. And then turning over here, we do have the very large and very nice looking panoramic moonroof. This is going to be standard on just the Platinum. However, Nissan does offer it as an option on both the SV and the SL. And then just like most panoramic moonroofs, the front portion will open up fully and you do have a windscreen. But anyways guys, that is going to sum up the front part of this Murano's premium cabin. So now we'll go ahead and hand it off to Mason, who will check out the back and the cargo area. Checking out the 2020 Nissan Murano's rear door trim. Of course, you do have a very luxurious one. So all of this lower area is covered in leather with that unique piping going through it. The top portion is also soft touch, and you do have some wood trim. So it's the same door trim as the front, no material decreases. And down below here, you do have a bottle holder as well as a little storage. Now in the center area, the Murano does come nicely equipped across all of the trim levels, especially here on the Platinum though. So on the top portion, we do have a little storage, some more wood trim, and down below that, you will also find a smart charging USB port as well as a USB Type-C. Those are standard across all of the trims, as are these rear air vents as well. However, if you want the rear seat heating, you're gonna have to go for the SL or Platinum trims. Now in the center, you have a fold-down armrest, cup holders inside. Up top, you have some lighting, assist grip coat hook, and of course your panoramic moonroof. And in terms of space behind rear seating position, I do have plenty of it. So as you can see, between my knees and the seat back, I probably have 8 to 10 inches of rear leg room, and my feet can easily slide up underneath the seat. As you can see, I am very, very comfortable back here. The technical measurement comes in at 39 inches of rear legroom and 40 inches of rear headroom. And in terms of how that goes with its rivals, that is a little bit less than the Ford Edge, however larger than the Lexus RX. Now you can fold the rear seat backs as well as recline them for extra comfort. So all you have to do is locate this little strap here and pull it. And it will fold right down. Now coming around to the tailgate, it is power and hands-free on both the SL and Platinum trims. So all you have to do is wave your foot under the bumper to open it up. And once inside the Murano's trunk, you are going to be very impressed with the amount of space back here. It's rated at 32 cubic feet of space behind the second row seats, and that expands to 67 cubic feet if you fold them. Now in terms with rivals, that is a little bit less than the Ford Edge once again, however a significant increase over the Lexus RX.
And it is also finished like a luxury car back here, so we do have a really nice carpeting on the floor. And underneath of the floor itself, you do have a spare tire. On each side, you do have a 12-volt power outlet, as well as handles to fold the rear seat backs from back here. Passenger seat over here is 4-way power adjusting on all but the very base model. And of course, you do have a good sized glove box. As you can see, it does open pretty good depth. It is also felt lined, and it is very deep inside. Up top, we do have a sun visor with a light mirror. It does also detach, as well as extend. But anyway, guys, that sums up all the luxury features about the Murano's rear seat. So now let's go ahead and get it on the road and see if it can maintain that luxury presence there.
So just taking off there and heading up to 60 miles an hour. This Murano feels pretty fast.
Yeah.
You know, you do have the same 3.5 liter VQ V6 as you have for the last several years. 260 horsepower, 240 pound-feet of torque, so definitely very healthy numbers. That being said, honestly, it even feels a little bit more powerful than the numbers suggest. Definitely gets up to 60 and no problems at all, and sounds good in the process.
Yeah, it really has a throaty sound to
always
it.
Just been a fan of the VQ.
You know, and once you are up to speed, going around 60 miles an hour, you're going to be rewarded with a very luxurious riding experience. For those of you that are maybe cross-shopping this with a Lexus RX, we actually drove that pretty extensively. I will say that this is going to be probably a less refined ride than the RX. The RX is like the pinnacle comfort and stuff like that. But this is really still a very good experience in here. It's very quiet. You're surrounded by a lot of nice materials. The seats are super comfortable, and there's plenty of space. So I really don't see that you're going to have very many complaints, especially if you're looking at a significant price drop from the Lexus RX.
Yeah, and it's definitely very quiet in here, despite the fact that, I mean, it's incredibly windy outside today. You got like hurricane winds, and we're going 60 miles an hour, so definitely very hushed inside the cabin. Now this does have a continuously variable transmission, but honestly, a lot of you guys probably wouldn't even notice. We've got the D-step logic, and really, I'm not sure, they didn't list it as a change, but from what I remember, it seems like it's a lot more aggressive this year.
Yeah.
Than last year with the shift simulation. Definitely is more believable, more realistic. You know, you can actually feel like a little bit of a difference as it shifts between different ratios. So I'm really liking that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I really don't think, like, if you just threw some random person inside your car, I don't think that they would really be able to identify it as a CVT, which is kind of crazy because, you know, it's pretty obvious in most circumstances, but here they do almost do that, like, kick, almost, that really does simulate it very well. And provided a much sportier type of feel than you would expect.
Another vehicle you might possibly maybe be thinking about is this versus the Pathfinder if you're within the Nissan lineup. I would say this feels faster. It's more refined and it's more luxurious. That's kind of the focus of this vehicle is, and like Mason had said, Nissan does say that a lot of its customers actually cross-shop this with a Lexus RX and other luxury offerings in this category. So this is definitely more focused on luxury since you can versus space in the Pathfinder. So you kind of get the choice for roughly the same amount of money.
I'd be kind of curious to see how is its driving dynamics in terms of the Pathfinder. Is it about equal or better or worse?
You mean the handling?
Yeah.
I mean, this is decidedly luxury-minded, like I said. So, the steering it's actually pretty responsive, but this is not a sports car or anything. You definitely feel plenty of body roll. It feels pretty heavy. It's a pretty substantial vehicle. That does contribute just to the luxury feeling of the car. But even though certain elements of it do look sporty, it's not sporty. It's not going to be a sporty car.
I would say the sportiest thing probably is the exhaust sound.
Yeah, the exhaust sound does sound sporty, but as far as the rest, it's about pampering you.
Yeah.
If you want something more sporty, you might look at Edge ST. The Blazer's more sporty as well.
Now, another one of those things that this car might fall a little bit behind in is the fuel economy. This engine is a pretty old engine and therefore lacks a lot of the fuel economy benefits of a modern engine. So it comes in at 20 city, 28 highway, 23 combined for both front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive models. So, I mean, like I said, that is a little bit less than most in the class offer.
But all in all, I have to say the 2020 Murano continues to excel at its core mission, which is being kind of a discount luxury offering, really, because a lot in the class, or most of its competitors actually are less luxurious. This is definitely the one that's most focused on luxury in the class. And then, combine it with the cool styling, it just continues to be a very intriguing offering here for you in 2020.
Alrighty, now that we've covered all the info of this 2020 Murano, let's talk about the pricing. For the base S model, it's going to start at $31,530, and keep in mind that that is with front-wheel drive. All of the prices mentioned will be in the front-wheel drive configuration. The SV is $35,160, SL is $39,680, and then finally you have this model, which is the top-end Platinum, for $43,730. Now, if you want all-wheel drive on any of those trim levels, it's going to be an additional $1,600. And basically overall for 2020, that's a $300 to $600 increase for this model year. Now, we do have that top-end Platinum trim, and we do also have all-wheel drive as well as a few options. So we have the splash guards for $185, as well as premium paint for $395, and carpeted floor mats and net for $250. And then finally, when you add the destination charge of $1,045, this particular model as equipped comes in at $47,205, which is definitely the top end of the Murano lineup. And it's pretty much in line with its rivals like the Ford Edge. If I'm not mistaken, I think that can top 50. So you're looking pretty much the same price point, and it is worth noting that this car does have pretty healthy discounts, so you might want to go check at your Nissan dealer because that price might be a little deceptive. Well guys, we hope you enjoyed watching this in-depth look at the 2020 Nissan Murano Platinum. We really appreciate you watching, and be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already.
We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.